All right. Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 2 between Red Sparowe and SorenJohnson. This is going to be an interesting one because there is only, oh man, look at this map. There's only 6 carbon, but there are 2 good patches of it that definitely kind of could be utilized by a scavenger player. On the other hand, there's like 90 iron on this map, 89 iron on this map. And there are definitely some good, like you could, I'm sorry, but if you just kind of land anywhere on this map, you're going to have good access to iron. Definitely something to be aware of. And then, oh man, not a whole lot of water going on. No ice or dry ice. I almost certainly, like looking at this map, I'm thinking scavenger, and I'll be a bit surprised if we don't see both players go for that. There it is. Both players taking the 2 scavenger locations. Red Sparowe not getting necessarily first pick on the locations, but still getting a good one nonetheless. He is going to be cramped in here, having a bit of a time finding his adjacency bonuses, but if we look, we can see that he is going to have access to things like triangle, triangle, triangle. Maybe over here he's going to have a triangle. This one could be a bit harder to use. There's a geotherm nearby, and of course great aluminum right up here, so I imagine he'll be able to make it work. Definitely potentially a huge deal for Red Sparowe this game that there are no power surges available. Soren, on the other hand, he's going to have an easier time spreading out his buildings due to his location. He will be able to easily kind of hop into iron if that ever becomes an issue because of the colony driving up the price. Maybe hop into steel more easily as neither player is going to be really producing that. Soren holding off on the upgrade for quite some time. Red Sparowe actually going to be the first one to hop into it. Likely because of that aluminum advantage, and maybe Soren was just kind of deciding what he wanted to do with the upgrade in the moment. Both players, I really want people to start selling down this carbon like instantly, honestly. You're sitting on a lot of carbon. It's worth $30 a piece. If your opponent hops into that sell first, you might end up in trouble compared to what you could have been before. And who missed the claim? All right. Auction on a geo tile. We'll see how that goes. Who beat who to a claim here? It was likely this silicon claim. I think Red Sparowe missed out on it, potentially, and Soren was able to get to it first. That is definitely an advantage over to Soren's founding location, is the silicon in this game. This geotherm, I want people pushing for this. This is important to me in this game. It is usable by both players. There are plenty of geotherms available on the map, but it is just kind of an extra claim that you just get, and for 14,000, that's really not a bad price for an extra claim this game, when there are none available on the black market in particular, and both players running very low on claims as they are kind of playing scavengers here. Now, it looks like Red Sparowe did kind of sell his carbon down, and he used that to acquire a goon squad and get this geotherm up. Is basically what's happened to Red Sparowe's carbon. That's where all of it disappeared to. Not necessarily a bad idea. But power's not all that great just yet. It was a very hefty commitment to get this tile up. That really isn't going to be doing anything for him immediately. I love taking the claim immediately, in the moment when the auction pops up, right? Because that's when it's available to you. Using it immediately, that can be a bit more risky. Certainly. Alright, over here, it looks like we've got another metal mine for Soren that does have unused water on it. So he's looking for that aluminum immediately, doesn't want to flood water too hard immediately, but wants the ability to transition later into more water when he doesn't need so much aluminum coming in. I actually really like finding these 2 tiles and making that kind of use of them. A mutiny onto, wow, a mutiny onto carbon at this phase of the game. Carbon not really worth anything right now. Both players kind of tanked that price. That's an interesting decision. I think I would have rather seen something like an EMP on these farms that Red Sparowe already has set up as an aggressive move. But it is interesting just to be taking away your opponent's carbon. And if they ever have to buy up a significant amount of it due to that, well, then you can respond and sell down the stockpile that you've acquired. Now, Soren has pushed HQ3. He is going to go into the double glass furnace with 2 of those claims. Don't know where the third one is headed just yet. Oh, it's just going to be a triple glass furnace out of Soren. That is interesting to see. However, it's really going to be important to note That is a big boost for Red Sparowe already this game. Look at this triangle. He just has barely access to triangles in here, despite the strangeness of the landscape around him. But there was a food shortage. Guys, there was a food shortage. That is a really, really, really big deal this game, as only one player is making food. The other player isn't anywhere near being able to make food. That's definitely, I think, going to be a big boost to Red Sparowe and give him a nice lead, potentially, in this game, despite the fact that he's been running a little bit behind on upgrades so far. Alright, Energy Vault, what are you going to do? What's going to happen with you? Maybe not a huge deal right now, the Energy Vault. Could play a bit of a role later if power ever kind of keeps creeping up on Red Sparowe. He doesn't necessarily have to move into it right away. That will give him some buffer later. But I do like the idea of not pushing that auction too hard. Don't want to lock yourself out in case an important auction comes up later in the game. Alright, Glass Furnaces doing great in the moment. Pirates coming down on aluminum and water. That is interesting. That is interesting. Aluminum and water not too great at the moment. And if that's all you're going to be getting from the pirates, I mean, it is nice to hurt your opponent. But pirates, I think, once again, maybe a bit questionable. Both of these players wanting to steal from their opponent rather than just kind of get a nice solid hit and shut things down. We'll have to see how that ends up working out this game. It does avoid potentially, you know, goon squads having been placed and things like that. So maybe not the worst idea, but certainly an interesting direction these players want to go. Soren going to hop up to HQ4. We do finally see an EMP attempt occurred, however it was deflected by the goon squad. Is there going to be an attempt to return that immediately? I don't know. Soren himself going to head into food. Interesting, choosing to fight his opponent rather than find his own market to exist in. Are you going to use that EMP, Soren? Where's that going to go? What are you thinking right now? Do you think it's too risky? Do you not want to hit the goon squad? It's interesting. He may just be distracted with other stuff. Finally, the EMP rains down. It is going to hit the food. That is a huge swing in this game, I think. Soren has managed to push into food before Red Sparowe managed to bring the price down with his production. Red Sparowe then basically hands him an EMP to use to take that food money away. That is a big deal. But Red Sparowe has managed to push to an upgrade. He is going into reactors exactly as I would expect. He is already in quite a bit of water this game. Easily can expand into a bit more if he feels the need. So I think Red Sparowe, he's running a little bit behind, but I think he's still in a great position in this game. Alright. Let's see. Let's look around. I'm not seeing... Does Soren have... Yeah, Soren still has no power online. Now, when you're just running on things like glass furnaces and farms, and your opponent's kind of knocked that power price down, you can get away with it. Now he has a geotherm online. There it is. All ready to go as he hits HQ5. Another geotherm auction comes up, this one favoring Red Sparowe just a bit, given its positioning. There is no dynamite this game, so no ability to kind of force a repair drone all the way across that map. But it is still worth noting that it is a very long distance away. It'll take a while to get that set up if Soren chooses to take the tile. Let's see what these players decide on with this auction, though. Red Sparowe, I mean, he's already got power. Looks like he decides he doesn't necessarily need another extra claim at this stage of the game. It's going to go over to the captain for 12,000. I'd consider that a bit of a deal on that geo tile. Very, very easy to utilize at the moment. Carbon, still not too expensive. Plenty of carbon available this game. I mean, you're pulling in 6 a second. I definitely like how that's going to work out. An adrenaline boost on glass. That tells me, I'm really hoping Soren is planning... Yep, EMP comes down. Going to freeze a significant amount of that. It does at least force the EMP out of Red Sparowe, which is nice. And maybe leave Soren open to utilize his own EMP a bit more effectively, knowing that Red Sparowe didn't really have the opportunity to get a goon squad up to protect these tiles, as he was responding to the adrenaline boost. Engineering lab coming down for Soren. Players keep wanting to make this work. I'll be interested to see if a player really can make this work as their primary advanced building in these games. I don't know what you're wanting to engineering lab this game. Electronics only down at $88. The highest price is chems already, so you're having to spend those in order to make good use of the lab. It'll be interesting to see how all that pans out. Mutinies back and forth onto the carbon. Red Sparowe is going to be the one to end up with it, though. Both these players not afraid to throw a black market at each other, and I like that. Also worth noting that aluminum has gotten quite expensive, and despite that fact, Red Sparowe has chosen to move out of his aluminum and into a hacker array. So we've got hacker array up against engineering lab, but Soren also managing to move into that Offworld. Let's go ahead and check prices this game. Food, kind of close to 500. That is the best of our life support resources, with fuel lagging behind at almost 400-ish. Chems and fuel very similar, 379 for chems and 467 for electronics. So that's actually going to have to keep an eye on electronics and food in particular as the launches this game. Soren, okay, yes, finally making the move into the water that he is going to need. Maybe doesn't even have quite enough of it set aside for all this production. Potentially going to need to get out of these reactors or these farms at some point. He's actually going to be upgrading water production first. I don't mind that. It'll allow him to keep his production online and functional, whereas Red Sparowe, he has not started using this hacker array yet. He is trying to find something to move into besides food. He has 3 claims left to utilize. He's not in really a pretty spot right now, just kind of stalling out and having trouble making things move his way. Whereas Soren, well, that boosted Offworld's online. He just has to get that launch started, and he's going to have set himself in a very, very nice position. Superconductor coming out. What you going to be able to do with this? Red Sparowe's just going to grab that for 9,000. Neither player, I think, going to be utilizing that too much this game with all the geotherms that are already up and online, separate from bases. That might just be 9,000 debt Red Sparowe's way, and kind of a wasted auction this time. This boosted Offworld, I think, is still what it's all about. You can see Soren not even choosing to defend himself this game. He just says, you don't have any money. I'm just going to come over and kill you, and you have to defend yourself right here and now. I like that play because it kind of, it prevents Red Sparowe. It damages these transitions that he desperately needs to be making right now. Now, Red Sparowe does, thankfully for him, have a lot of water coming in, and Soren has driven up the price on that. Kind of a bit of a reverse from last game. Soren entirely dependent on this Offworld to be the thing making him money right now, almost. It's like the Offworld and just a little bit of water production that he's got going, but he's burning all that in these reactors. I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but I mean, you can just see the power of the boosted Offworld right now. He's only 3 claims away from killing his opponent flat out. Red Sparowe has to manage to secure 1 more claim. He's got no cash for that anywhere. Got to sell this water basically the moment it appears in his base and hope that he can get it done in time just to keep this game going in a position where his opponent already has a serious advantage. The hacker array still lies dormant, has not found anything to do with that yet this game. And you can see that's definitely being a bit of a problem for Red Sparowe so far. He just doesn't have anything going his way. These glass furnaces burning massive amounts of money. Both players absolutely loving their, you know, furnaces. I mean, they're appropriately named. They're just giant infernos of money, basically, right? 2 seconds away, 1 second away, red button. And the captain going to end up taking this one with the majority buyout immediately. Red Sparowe just never quite getting to anything useful that game. I mean, he was struggling to really find a place late game. I do love that he managed to be the one to turn the glass furnaces off. That was definitely a big deal, but you could see Soren, despite the fact that he just had this giant money inferno, he had managed to move into chem labs and farms and find a way to make money despite the Offworld, or along with the Offworld. Red Sparowe just never pulling that off. Having trouble making the transitions, having trouble finding his niche, having trouble just using these last 3 claims up. It seems like it got a little bit flustered at the end of the game. These are Soren's claims now, but they were Red Sparowe's claims before the game ended. Just, I think, got too concerned, maybe freaked out by the fact that Soren had managed to push to that Offworld. And I think just that was really getting into his head, because usually, I mean, having 3 claims left over, that is a big deal. 3 more claims, if those had been on food, if those had been into, oh, it's hard to say even. I understand why he was having trouble. If they had been in food, if they had been in chems, if they had been in electronics, if they had just managed to commit to an Offworld even, then maybe Red Sparowe could have managed to stay in it. But that is the advantage of going aggressive against your opponent, not securing your own stock when you get that lead. Sometimes you can create such a nightmare scenario for the opponent where they don't even have the cash in the moment to scrape together enough to buy themselves because they're in the middle of those transitions. They haven't pushed into anything that will actually be making them money. You can just take a game, just like that, and it'll be all over. All right, guys. That is going to be the series going over to Soren 2-0 at the end of the day. So, congratulations to him. He is going to be moving on to face Black Magic in the round of 8. Black Magic winning over Death Tacticus yesterday 2-1. I imagine Soren is trying to call me. I will go ahead and call him back right now, and we'll just have a nice little chat. Hopefully.
Hello?
Hello. All right. Well, you won it. He called me again. Okay.
Hello?
All right, we good this time?
Yeah. I answered on both machines, so.
All right, gotcha.
Wow, we haven't seen too many actual majority buyouts, have we yet?
Not a whole lot. There have been 1 or 2, but not a large number of them.
Yeah. Let me see if I should mute that. Okay.
Yeah. That's better.
Yeah, that was interesting. I just looked up and I was like, wow, I'm making a lot of money off the Offworld. I might as well just go for it.
No, I agree. And it was very nice timing. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but when you won the game, you suddenly had 3 claims available. And that's because, I mean, you caught Red Sparowe at a point where he couldn't find money to be made
I got
anywhere.
those claims from Red Sparowe?
Yeah, you got them from Red Sparowe.
Yeah, I saw them and I was like kind of confused. Did I not use 3 claims?
No, I mean, basically, and so you managed to attack him when he was kind of stuck in the mud and trying to find somewhere to make money. He didn't have any cash on hand at the time to secure his own stock, and so he's suddenly desperately pouring the tiny amount of cash he has into trying to defend himself.
He literally couldn't do anything with them.
Yeah, he literally, he just had nothing all of a sudden. Now, I mean...
That's rough.
There were options, maybe, trying to get into chems, trying to get into maybe electronics, you know, getting into food again, that kind of thing, but he just couldn't... You could tell that it seemed like you buying stock was kind of flustering him, and so making that aggressive move this game...
Yeah,
was definitely the right call.
I've always liked doing that, and I've lost games that way, where I've bought into other players too early. But especially majority buyout, I think it becomes even more viable because, you're going to panic when someone owns a couple of your shares.
Absolutely.
I think there was a real crucial point in the middle of the game when we were probably both at level 3, and he built a couple farms, and I had 3 claims, and I was trying to figure out what to do with them. And both reactors and farms were making more money than glass, but not a lot more. But they both would have made a little more than glass. But I was like, I'm just going to go for glass, so I can get to level 4 and level 5 above him.
Right.
And beyond that, I think somehow I had 1 extra claim because he got 2 farms down, whereas I got a triangle of furnaces. And I think that gave me a real leg up during that period.
Well, and I think the other big deal during that was eventually you got to a point where you were attacked by an EMP onto your glass, and you had defended that with a goon squad. You got fortunate enough to catch it, so you turned that back on his food, and you had your own food production up, and that really, you could tell, kind of put the brakes on Red Sparowe. If that hadn't happened, I think you would have had would have been in a much stronger position later in the game.
Yeah, I like getting goon squads up. Was his geotherm goon squadded?
Oh yeah, from the moment. And I think that honestly also, I didn't like that play. I
bought a mutiny for that geotherm, and that was a big mistake because I wasted 2,000. But I did.
Is that why you stuck it on the carbon? I was really concerned about the mutiny on the carbon. I was like, I don't know why that just happened. That could have been an EMP.
Figured too.
But it does make sense in that context.
I shouldn't have bought the mutiny, obviously, but I figured, well, this is the best use of it. We're both scavenger. Even if the price is bad, long term, right? Obviously, you want more carbon production than your opponent. And all I knew is I saw that goon squads are 3,500, and I'm like, if I hit that geotherm, he's gonna get my mutiny.
Right.
So it goes. Another thing that was really interesting was that aluminum water tile up north.
Oh yeah, I saw that early, and how you had an aluminum. So you got to have 2 aluminum tiles.
Yeah.
But then the ability to transition 1 into water later, that's such a huge deal.
Yeah, that made a big difference because I mean, I obviously have passed up a lot of aluminum by doing that instead of sticking it next to my other one, but I knew water was going to be a big deal on this map.
Right. I mean, only 11 water tiles here.
Yep.
I think that was definitely important, and I think that's the only thing that let you push quite as hard as you did late in the game, being able to get into those 2 water tiles. Otherwise, we could have seen almost a reverse of last game where you were the one consuming all the water, and then Red Sparowe had all this water production available to him because he had 3 water tiles with adjacency bonuses, even with just a medium and 2 lows.
Yeah.
And he managed to, that's where all his money basically came from at the end of the game.
He could have potentially pushed me there somehow. Is that what his hacker ray was doing? Was he going to start hacking
His hacker
water?
ray sat there idle the entire time. I mean, maybe it could have been water. That's almost what I would have expected, would have been a water hack, probably.
Yeah,
but
I got
just,
really good use out of pirates that game, too.
Yeah.
Like once the... I think that kept him from getting the leg up on me on water, because I know I put at least 2 pirates down, so I got 200 water from him.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a cool game.
It was an interesting game. I loved this map. It was so ridiculous. It's like, well, they're both going scavenger, probably.
Yeah, I was totally shocked he went scavenger.
Really?
I just saw those 2 high. I saw those 2 high carbons, and I barely even looked at the other side of the map.
Yeah, but there was a high medium carbon, and actually, I liked like his spot. He beat you to HQ level 2. Yep. Not by much, but because he had the high aluminum adjacent. Exactly.
Yeah, his spot was totally legit. I mean, if I saw it, I might have gone there instead. But yeah, it was just a question of which direction we decided to go. I think when we got to level 3.
Yeah. Well, and at level 2 is when he got those 2 farms up. And he did manage to do something with that. I still think that like the big slowdown, there were 2 big slowdowns that happened for Red Sparowe. I think one of them was putting the geotherm up.
Yep,
I didn't like that at all. That's hugely expensive on carbon. Yeah, and he committed a goon squad to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking when I let the geotherm auction go. I mean, I kind of was still sort of kicking myself most of the game, but I did realize like, okay, that is basically a big chunk of his carbon he just threw away. The nice thing about a geotherm auction coming that early is it means like I actually went really deep in that game without building any power. Because the price stayed reasonable because it was geotherm. So, yeah.
I wonder if I can do the math and figure out how much more water production you got out of this engineering lab that you spent 20 chems and 2 minutes on getting to. Well, I mean, I guess it's like 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Yeah. Look, people keep building engineering labs in 1v1s.
Well, keep in mind, I didn't. this game could have gone 5.
It could have
minutes longer, right?
In which case,
I think actually water production was a pretty good move.
No, I think it's kind of understandable in that context, but I hate the engineering lab in 1v1. People keep arguing for it. I absolutely hate it. I want eventually everybody to build hacker arrays these days. Now that the hacker array has been reinstated as an actual building from its cost getting knocked back down. Yeah. And the engineering lab has been nerfed.
Yeah, well, I mean, the hacker array should always perform best in 1v1 anyway. I mean, that's just I'll never be able to change that. So, it's a really cool building in 1v1. So, by definition, all of the other buildings become a little less valuable. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Is Qubit playing later?
Qubit is playing later. Theoretically, he would have started playing like 20 minutes ago from the initial time, but he had talked about yesterday maybe needing to delay that a couple of hours. I mean, GameSlayer's talking about Qubit having some technical issues lately, so it'll be interesting to see how that happens. I do love both of you. I don't know if you noticed that game. Both of you had these giant money infernos for glass furnaces.
The glass, oh wow, it was quite negative by the end of that game.
Oh yeah, I mean you guys were killing that glass price. It was disgusting. Everybody always does this because people still love making glass in 1v1, which I'll never understand. You always so quickly get to this point where glass is just like losing money if you're not careful with it. Then everybody just leaves them running like, all right, don't know where all my money's going. Oh look, it's that thing called a furnace. Very appropriately named.
Burns the money.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Still though, well, some good games.
Yeah. So I guess there must be 3 games left, and looking forward to seeing what happens with them.
Yeah, we've got... I don't know when Blues and Rad Roofer are doing their match. I know Blues... I've seen both of them around. Hopefully they'll be able to get together, and their schedules seem to usually match up, so hopefully there won't be too much of an issue there. But I know Qubit and Rollers are supposed to be today, and then Gameslayer and Junithorn, it sounded like, would be tomorrow.
Right. Cool.
So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll catch the games when we can.
Sounds good.
Thanks for broadcasting.
Yep, no problem.
Cool. Talk to you later.
Yep, bye.